there. If you watched essentially Ancestors and Me Part 1, you know that they have been in my life since 1987, even though I didn't know it. I didn't have an conscious awareness in my world until 2008 when a running rabbit, an Old Siksika, showed up in the window of my car in my first daytime awake vision. And I didn't even know who he was until January 2014, and when I met someone up close and personal, the old Ojib Cree, who began guiding me back and forth across the country until 2018. When good old PK introduced himself in a hotel in Renton, Washington, I dropped down just a total rabbit hole, pun not intended, to learn who he and find out who Running Rabbit was. Like there's so many stories. Like Sakyamuni used to sit in on happy hour with a healer I did. I have walked dogs with Mohammad and Rumi, grandmothers who always appear between my shoulders and wrists tell me when I've used too much salt. And oddly, they don't interrupt me before I do that. There's an aptly new called Lakota named Frank's Fool's Crow who sits on my right shoulder. He's kind of like the angel devil thing, except like not, blessedly. I have been shoved out of bed at an ungodly hour and told to turn on the lights to keep me safe. I've also, probably to keep me safe, had lights turned on for me in the middle of the night so I could see to get out for that midnight pee. And not so oddly, and may or may not be appropriate to share, but I'm married to 3 of them. And that's not nearly as awkward as you think it would be, although that will change if I ever have a partner. And I will add out loud here, 1, I don't count because he's taken a claim on me without asking me if I would be cool with, sure, I'll marry a dead dude. And I know we've all heard at some point something along the lines like, oh, honey, you're never alone. No, I'm definitely not. And I'm absolutely aware that I'm surrounded by beings, some not formally breathing humans, all of the time. Like, I don't have a pee without company. Like, it's not so different from having a cat or a dog, nosing the door open just to make sure everything is okay in there, except that's not the purpose in those moments. With me, it's to tell me something. And the moment someone enters a room, but only if they are of a very particular, usually ethnic persuasion, or connected to the memories that I carry, I have got their kin front and center. Whether it's at the hardware store, a bar, the bookstore, grocery store aisle, or maybe not so oddly, at the emergency room I used to work at. Mostly this crowd that pisses me off because everybody's got a fucking opinion. Sometimes they just merely annoy me. And mostly that's because my encounters are almost always tactile with other senses, and I hate to be touched all the time. Hate it. However, on occasion, they inspire me because, hello, how could they not? And one of the ways is through my art. I've explained before that I'm a savant artist. One day, blessedly without the traumatic brain injury that other savants experience, I woke up and I knew I had to paint, and then I woke up and I knew I had to go to Hobby Lobby, and then I woke up and knew I was painting, and then I knew that I could paint, and then I learned I couldn't not paint to be a fully breathing, alive person. What I've not shared, though, is that I don't paint alone. One of those beings blown into me in October 2014 was an artist. Didn't know that at the time. However, all I know about him is that he's male. He was an artist in the 1700s. He was not well known, certainly not famous. I don't know his name. I don't know his style, although he doesn't like some of mine. And I don't know why he was blown into me. I mean, I can speculate that his role was meant to be just what he does. He coaches. And so I'm not exactly a self-taught savant artist. I'm taught as I go. And it's not just that, but so the paintings begin with a conversation with canvas and color. Canvas actually hums with electric power for me. It draws me in, or it gives me a jolt, or sometimes verbally says, just begin. And oddly enough, if I don't listen, the canvas will tell someone else to tell me the same darn thing. Especially if I just stare at the expanse of light and I'm like, what? Colors exude their own kind of energy. It's kind of like a choir warming up before they get to the main deal. But before there's the art, during the art, there is a continual internal literal male voice that says things like, you might not want to do that. Okay, yeah, but do that, but not in that way. He will also say things like, this one's all yours. And blessedly, he's not an art critic except when I'm doing stuff he doesn't like the one behind me, which we'll get to in a second. Ancestors, though, that you pop in sometimes really are critics. There's an old Navajo woman who's come in more than once saying quite audibly, loudly, I don't like that, with an exclamation at the point at the end, because she thinks art should appear in a very particular way. Georgia O'Keeffe, who has been in my world for many years, at least since 2015, long before I knew I was an artist. She's been bringing me information and understandings through visions. She came through loud and clear in the flight paths of prayer. It's right behind me. That green there on the bottom right there, that's there because she was audibly insistent on it. And I argued, this is not green. I don't want green there. I thought she was bug nuts and being a bitch. And then, because arguing made me curious, I ultimately had to apologize for her because she was right. That green needed to be right there. Bless her, as far as I know, she didn't laugh at me. She's also not a critic of my art. She does have things to say about other life choices, especially when I tried to take the wheel of her truck, which is only slightly metaphoric, because one of her avenues of communication is to show me in her old truck when I'm in control of things and I'm behind the wheel, and when God's got the wheel and I just need to shut up and sit down. If I could do the green screen things, I would show you the river. And the river was painted in answer to a prayer, although I didn't know it and the prayee or prayer didn't know it. And in that, I was guided each step of the way. Even though things like, they made no sense to me. It was only the third or fourth painting I had created. And so, yeah. It's like weird to me that I am surrounded by people no longer in their body, and I'm touched physically all the time. Muhammad, Jesus, Washaki, Ananda Maima, a dude named Dull Knife. I've got a whole mountain Ute crew. Muktananda, Baba G, Changing Woman, Pat Kennedy. There's a student of mine, both of her grandmothers, great-grandmothers, Nick Black Elk, and animals of so many stripes that is just amazing. And it's just so weird that I can have all of these relationships with the invisible, but I have damn near zero in the practical, lived, embodied thing, world experience. Most of those have an opinion. They would have preferred that I show up to the rest of the world with behaviors and other things related to their religion, their faith when they were alive, the faith that they led. And one of the reasons why I've not shared that is for the same reason why I blow off the others, is like everybody thinks that I should be in one particular way, or people in body think, oh, you're blah, blah, blah. You should be doing this because they're an expert on spirit. And they'll say things like, oh, you should just banish them, or I should do something to make my world smaller, my encounters less something. And that's just not how this works at all. So if you're thinking, I need to banish an ancestor, or I need to clear them out, or smudge them off, or take a milk bath, or just get baptized in whatever way, your perceptions are vastly limited in comparison to mine. And you live in a way that can't reach an understanding about any of this unless you have direct experiences that bring you into this particular way of being. I don't need your advice. I got enough coming from a bunch of dead folks. Sometimes I need your help, but not your advice. In fact, I'll slide this right on in here. Before you give anyone advice, ask them if they want it. That shit is about as welcome as some random dude on the street or in an office telling a woman that she needs to smile more. Just know. There's no protection needed here. I have plenty of that. And part of what I teach is that some of us are meant to live an undefended life. There are so many filters in place, I don't even understand it, that allow only a very, 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 very specific set of energies into my circle. And that changes within context. Like, I have these same encounters with breathing plants, breathing animals, with stone, not exactly breathing, but very much alive, with specific waterways, with water that is hidden under desert sand, with clouds, with dust devils, with geographic regions, with foods from places around the world. And that is a story in and of itself. Oh my God. And the wind. So I'll share below some blog links that tell stories about some of the things that ancestors have done for me, with me, and for others, including the one about the Dene woman who is now an ancestor a few months ago, who said to me in 2015, I can see all of those within you and all of those around you. And that nearly floored me. It was one of the few times I have ever felt fully seen and welcomed as I was, because she could quite literally see. There's more to this. I think, though, A, nobody likes to watch a long video around here. And B, I want to be selective about how I share this, for reasons even I don't quite understand at this point. Although I will say that this is an active piece on my part of learning to live an undefended life. Peace in, y'all. Bye.